Think the M1 Garand or the P-51 Mustang won World War II? Think again. The real MVP of the Allied victory didn't fire bullets. It rained thousands of tons of steel from miles away. During the Second World War, artillery was responsible for over 60% of all battlefield casualties. Welcome to the ultimate deep dive breakdown. Every U.S. artillery gun of World War II, ranked and explained. Today, we are going deep into the American arsenal to show you the exact weapons, the devastating ammunition, and the brilliant tactics that completely broke the Axis war machine. Make sure you watch this video all the way to the end, because our number one pick literally reshaped modern warfare, and the tactical secret behind it will blow your mind. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling us which of these legendary weapons you think was the most lethal. Let's load the breeches and get into the countdown. Number 8, M3 37mm anti-tank gun. Purpose: early war infantry support and frontline anti-tank defense. Why it's deadly. Designed in the late 1930s, this lightweight, low-profile gun fired a 1.9-pound, high-velocity armor-piercing round. With a well-trained 5-man crew, it boasted a blistering rate of fire of up to 25 rounds per minute. It was fast to set up, easy to conceal, and incredibly accurate at short ranges. Real-world use. The 37mm had a Jekyll and Hyde career depending on the theater of war. In the Pacific, it was devastating. Japanese tanks had notoriously thin armor, and the 37mm punched right through them. Against Japanese banzai charges, crews loaded devastating canister shot, basically turning the cannon into a giant shotgun that fired hundreds of steel balls, shredding enemy infantry lines. However, in Europe, the 37mm was a different story. Against the thick, sloped armor of late-war German panzers, the 37mm shells simply bounced off. GIs quickly lost faith in it, cynically nicknaming it the squirrel rifle. Number 7, 3-inch gun M5. Purpose: dedicated heavy anti-tank defense. Why it's deadly. The US military realized they needed a bigger gun to deal with German armor. So they took an anti-aircraft barrel and mated it to a field artillery carriage. Firing a massive 15-pound, armor-piercing shell at nearly 600 feet per second, it could penetrate over 3 inches of hardened steel armor at 1,000 yards. Real-world use. Deployed with tank destroyer battalions, the M5 was meant to ambush enemy armor. It saw heavy action during the Italian campaign and the invasion of France. While its hitting power was excellent, capable of destroying Panzer IVs and even Tiger tanks with flank shots, it was incredibly heavy. Weighing in at over 2 tons, it was difficult for crews to maneuver in the mud of Western Europe, proving that firepower meant nothing if you couldn't move the gun into position. Number 6, M1 57mm anti-tank gun. Purpose: mid to late war standard infantry anti-tank combat. Why it's deadly. This was actually an American, reverse-engineered copy of the highly successful British 6-pounder. It offered the perfect middle ground between the hopelessly weak 37mm and the terribly heavy 3-inch gun. It fired an armor-piercing projectile, capable of defeating nearly 3 inches of steel at standard combat ranges. Real-world use. This weapon became the standard towed anti-tank gun for US infantry regiments in Europe. From 1943 onwards, it was heavily utilized by paratroopers dropped into Normandy, who used it to hold off German armor. Counterattacks at critical choke points like Carentan. While it struggled against the heavy frontal plates of Panthers and Tigers, aggressive infantrymen used the 57mm in ambushes, waiting until enemy tanks passed by to blast their weaker side armor. Number 5, M1A1 75mm Pack Howitzer. Purpose: ultra-mobile. Lightweight indirect fire support for airborne, glider and mountain troops. Why it's deadly. This gun was an absolute logistical marvel. It was designed so it could be rapidly broken down into 9 distinct parachute loads, or carried on the backs of pack mules. Despite its portability, it could deliver a potent 14-pound high-explosive shell over 5 miles away, dropping plunging fire right into enemy trenches. Real-world use. The 75mm Pack Howitzer was the airborne division's best friend. When you are dropped completely surrounded behind enemy lines, you don't have heavy tanks or air support, you have what you brought with you. Dropped from C-47 transport planes and Waco gliders during D-Day, Operation Market Garden and the Battle of the Bulge. This tiny gun gave paratroopers the heavy, indirect punch they desperately needed to survive against mechanized German assaults. Number 4, M1 150mm Howitzer, the Pig. Purpose: medium to heavy divisional artillery support and bunker busting. Why it's deadly. Affectionately known as the Pig due to its bulky, rugged design, this howitzer dropped massive 95-pound high explosive shells up to 9.2 miles away. The fragmentation radius of a single shell was lethal up to 50 yards, leaving craters deep enough to swallow a jeep. Real-world use. This was the heavy-hitting backbone of the American artillery battalions. When the infantry ran into a fortified town, a concrete bunker or a stubborn German defensive line, they called for the 155mm. It was heavily utilized in the bloody Hurtgen Forest campaign and during the Siege of Bastogne. The sheer concussive force of the 155mm could literally shake enemy soldiers to death inside their bunkers without even piercing the concrete. When a grid square needed to be completely removed from the map, the 155mm got the call. Number 3, 8-inch Howitzer M1. Purpose: heavy siege artillery and ultimate destruction of fortified targets. Why it's deadly. If the 150mm was a sledgehammer, the 8-inch Howitzer was a wrecking ball. It fired a monstrous 200-pound high explosive shell to a range of just over 10 miles. The accuracy of this weapon was unparalleled for its size. It was considered the most accurate artillery piece in the US arsenal during the war. Real-world use. Moving this 31,000-pound beast required heavy, tracked prime movers. Because of its pinpoint accuracy and devastating payload, the 8-inch Howitzer was specifically tasked with destroying the most hardened targets of the war: heavy bridges, reinforced command bunkers, and the infamous concrete fortifications of the Siegfried Line. A single hit from this gun could collapse a multi-story stone building into dust. Number 2, 150mm gun M1M2 Long Tom. Purpose: long-range siege, counter-battery fire and deep strike disruption. Why it's deadly. Do not confuse the 150mm Howitzer with the 150mm gun. The Long Tom featured a much longer barrel and a massive powder charge, boasting a devastating maximum range of nearly 15 miles. It fired its 95-pound projectile at such high velocities that the shell actually traveled faster than the speed of sound. The enemy wouldn't even hear the whistle of the incoming round before their position was obliterated. Real-world use. Towed by massive Mack trucks or M4 high-speed tractors, the Long Tom dominated the European theater. Its primary job was counter-battery fire, acting as an artillery sniper. US spotter planes would locate German artillery positions, and the Long Tom would wipe them out from miles beyond the German gun's maximum range. It was instrumental in turning fortified Axis cities like Metz and Aachen into rubble and cutting off enemy supply lines deep in the rear. Number 1, M2A1 150mm Howitzer. Purpose: the standard light field artillery for all US infantry and armored divisions. Why it's deadly. The M2A1 wasn't the biggest gun, nor did it have the longest range. So why is it number 1? Because it possessed the absolute perfect Goldilocks balance of range: 7 miles, firepower, a 33-pound shell, and speed up to 10 rounds per minute. More importantly, late in the war, these guns were equipped with top-secret proximity fuses, VT fuses, which used tiny radar arrays to detonate the shell exactly 30 feet in the air, raining inescapable shrapnel down on entrenched troops. Real-world use. The undisputed king of battle. Firing over 16 million rounds throughout the war, the 105mm was the absolute workhorse of the US military, seeing heavy, daily action in every single theater, from the jungles of Guadalcanal to the snows of the Ardennes. But what made the 105mm truly unstoppable was the American Fire Direction Center, FDC tactics. Before World War II, artillery fired relatively independently. The Americans revolutionized warfare by tying all their 105mm batteries together with field telephones and radios. A single frontline forward observer could call in a target, and the FDC would instantly calculate the math for dozens of guns, spread miles apart. Through a tactic called time on target, the operators timed the firing of every single gun so that hundreds of shells, fired from completely different locations, would all impact the enemy at the exact same second. The sudden devastation of an entire battalion's worth of 105 minutes. Shells arriving instantly broke the back of the Axis powers and redefined combined arms warfare forever. There you have it, the American steel that crushed the Axis war machine from miles away. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history of warfare, smash that subscribe button right now and drop a comment letting me know which of these guns do you think had the biggest impact on the outcome of the war. Was it the portable 75mm, the heavy-hitting Long Tom, or the legendary 105mm?